Hello, everybody. This is Vineet Devaya, CEO and founder of teleportme.com, and I'm welcoming you all again on our fifth live interview session. And it is a great honor for me today to talk to Alvin, who is the chairman of HTC China. And I've been kind of stalking Alvin for a while when the whole VR revolution started, and there was this whole kind of boom around VR, and Teleport Me being one of the largest social networks for 360 content. This was something that we just had to do. And so, our journey with HTC and Alvin started off with just me emailing, or I think tweeting out to Alvin and asking him for support and help. And we ended up actually working on a project with HTC, getting devices from them, and really testing some early releases of virtual tours in VR. And so I think in today's conversation, we're going to talk to Alvin about a lot of things, including VR, virtual tours, 3D spaces, the kind of future of what he sees into immersive content. And without any further ado, I shall invite Alvin onto the stage. Hey, Alvin, how are you doing?
I'm good. I'm in my quarantine hotel. This is my 12th day of quarantine. So so far so good. I'll be free soon.
Yeah, I think it's. I think I sent you a message on Twitter when you said that you're quarantining for 14 days.
Well, no, actually, I'll be quarantining for 7 weeks over 3 different cities. But this is the first part of my first city. So the 14 days in one room, and then I have 7 days that I cannot. I can leave my room, but I can't go into any other buildings. So yeah, and then when I go to China in a couple of weeks, I'll have to do 3 weeks in a room, and then 1 week in my home I cannot leave. So
1 week. Oh wow, it's like a massive process for you then.
Yeah, they're very strict in these countries to kind of make sure everybody's safe. So I'm supporting the process.
Awesome. So Alvin, again, thank you for joining us. And like I said, most of the people that are probably watching this live video or interview, not video, are in different Facebook groups around the internet, on YouTube. And what I would like to start off with really is kind of just talking about who Alvin is. I've looked at your LinkedIn bio. I know you're a serial entrepreneur. You have had some success in technology companies. And how did you end up in VR? What excited you about VR and the idea of kind of spatial computation, if you may?
Yeah, so I mean, I've actually been familiar and involved with VR since 1991. So 30 years ago. So I studied with Dr. Tom Furness. I don't know if you know him, but he's the godfather of VR. He's been researching and developing for VR for 55 or 56 years, and when he was back in the U.S. Air Force. So so I was very fortunate to be exposed at a very early stage in this development of this industry, of this technology. And as soon as I saw it and touched it and played with the technologies at the time, which was not very advanced technology, but it really showed me the potential. It opened my eyes to the potential of how this technology can be applied to all aspects of our lives, and will someday become the primary interface for people to machines and for probably people to each other. Especially given the current situation with all of the social distancing, it probably will become a more and more important way for us to communicate to each other. So so I actually did my senior research back in college on this topic, and I think my prediction was within 10 years, all the schools will be using this to educate the kids of the future. And I'm off by about 20-something years, but it will come.
Aren't we all off by a long time, right? So I think this is a very interesting story. I did not know this, that you've been working on this for a while. I mean, at least conceptually working on this for quite a while. So I think my questions are going to be even more interesting, because I just thought that maybe this is something that you just got into in maybe 2015, 2014. So
Yeah.
the question I think most people have is, when is it going to come? What is the right time? Obviously this is the most difficult question to answer. But given the fact that you have been kind of in the space, you're in the know-how, you've done a research thesis on this. If you had to just ballpark timing, right?
Yeah.
What do you think?
I mean, I think we're really at the precipice of something big happening, right? And I know people say that every year, this year or next year is the year of VR. The reason I say that is because I can see the products that are coming down the pipeline. I know, and I've seen the roadmaps of a lot of our products, our partners' products. I see what basic core technology is coming along, so that we know where things are headed. And as you know, I'm also president of the VRVCA, the Virtual Reality Venture Capital Alliance. So I see a lot of startups. I see what they're working on. Some things could be 5 or 10 years away, but you get a sense of the timeline, right? Just like when in the late 2000s, when the smartphones really took off, there was some fundamental technology that had to be available. You had to have cheap touchscreens. You had to have low powered processors that were decent performance. You needed to have good networks. The 3G had to come along. Those pieces, the things that are needed for VR to really take off, are a lot of the same things, except to the next level, right? So instead of 3G, we're going to need 5G. So and 5G just deployed last year. So there's 1 million base stations now in China. So it's although China is probably the only country right now that has not really slowed down deployment because of COVID. Everywhere else in the world has slowed down. But I think that's a inevitable that other countries will follow. You look at screens, it used to be, if you had 1K screen, it was pretty good. Now we're getting to 5K, 8K, 10K micro displays, so all of those things are coming together, right? So for us to get to a level where you put this on, and it's not, at the Ready Player One level where you can't distinguish from reality, but I think it's going to be something that you could use all day. And what I think will be the moment when it really starts to have a significantly different trajectory is when the displays get to a point where it's as good as a decent computer screen, so you can start working, right? It's fine right now, the screens for playing games, for watching movies, but if you were going to just even type a Word document with regular 10 or 12 point font, you can't really do it, right, in today's devices. But that's going to change very soon, and when that happens, people will be able to have a display that's as big or as small or as many as they want to do their daily work, and then that same display that they have on their head can also be used to communicate with their friends in a virtual 3D manner. Will be able to allow them to do virtual travel to some place where they're not at, to attend a conference, to be able to play a game where you are so immersed that you can't tell and you forget you're playing a game, right? I mean, when that happens, there's really no reason to have another device, right? And there's these devices that are coming out will be able to connect to your Bluetooth headphones or your Bluetooth keyboards. So you still can do all the productivity. You can your mouse. Of course, you'll have hand tracking. Of course, you'll have 6-stop controls, 6-stop support. So when you have that, people's usage models will change, right? Right now, if you look at how often people use VR, you're talking about a few hours a week for the people that are relatively active to, a few hours a month, maybe for some of the less active ones, right? But when we get to that point where it's the quality of the visuals are good enough, the quality of the connectivity is good enough, and of course the form factors are going to get smaller. You see already there's devices out there that are getting thinner, lighter, more balanced. I think the price points will continue to come down, right? That's the other thing. I think people harp too much about price, honestly.
No, I think prices, given how much people spend on like PS5s and 6s, I don't think that, price is such a big constraint. I think.
Exactly. I think it's not even about the PS5s and 4s. It's really about what are you replacing, right? If this thing can be used to replace your car, because now you don't have to drive as much. If this can be used to replace a plane ticket, so you don't have to do that business travel. In fact, like yesterday, I was having a call with several of the global heads of XR for PwC, and I was asking them, what's your timeline for justifying ROI for your customers? And why don't you guess, how long do you think they use to justify the spending for an XR device?
PwC, knowing that this is PwC, I would say maybe 15 years.
Well, I think that's what their accountants would say. But you know what? They had 3 different heads of XR from the 3 different regions, right?
Right.
He said 3 to 6 months.
What?
We can pay for the devices we buy in 3 to 6 months, if not less. Right. So they're saying we plan on replacing our XR devices every year for the clients that we work with.
Awesome.
So that I think that is very, very telling. Now, of course, this is for business users who will have more ways to create value from this technology. But I think the fact that even a relatively conservative company like PwC, they've been around a long time and they work with very large enterprises, and they're not talking 3 years, 5 years, or what you said, 15 years, right? In terms of depreciating this asset, they're talking about depreciating it and justifying a new one in 3 to 6 months, if not at most 12 months.
Wow.
Right? And so I think from that perspective, the cost is really not an issue for people who really need it. Now, of course, there are people who would initially only use it for leisure entertainment. Then they're looking at price levels that are like what you're saying for an Xbox, $300-400, or for a PlayStation, where they're used to paying that. But I think what they don't realize is that this is not just a gaming device. Right. This is your computer. This is your TV. This is your big screen on the wall TV. This is potentially your simulation arena that you have for your golf game or whatever, right? It's like all of the entertainment things that you do, and you put it together. Yeah, and in fact, if you look at it from another perspective, if you have a decent enough device, where you live and what type of a home you live in may not matter as much. And I'm speaking from direct experience. I've been locked in a room for the last 12 days. I cannot even open the door unless they deliver food to me, right? But I actually don't feel that cramped, right? Because at any time I can put on a headset and I can go somewhere. I can be, in nature. I can be in a space world, whatever, right? I can be in a virtual conference with friends. That changes the equation of how we live our lives and what's really important, right? Just like if you ask people, how much would you pay? Would it take? And I think there's multiple people done this survey. How much would it take for me to pay you for you to give up your phone for a year? And people are saying, oh, thousands of dollars, tens of thousands of dollars. Some people saying for $100,000, I'm not going to give up my phone. Right. So you think about it that way. This is how much we depend on a device that is a 6-inch screen. In another 3 years, 5 years, when you essentially have a device that's an all-day device.
You're saying it's 5 years. So that's what you're saying. So the answer to the question that I asked when is 5 years. I'm just kidding.
I think within 5 years it will be a truly mass market product, right? And so when I say mass market,
I'm looking at all the questions that are coming in. So just don't think that I'm looking out. So if, people are already, I think there are like 5 questions already. We don't have to go through them right now because we can do them in the end. But
sure. I mean, I'll just follow your lead. You tell me what you want to talk about.
I think you can also see it. I don't know if you can see it.
I can, but I'm trying to look at you and give you that face contact, eye contact. But if there's a topic you want to discuss, I'm happy to go off.
I think Michael, Michael saying hello. We have Mauricio Lopez, who has a very interesting question that we'll get to. Justin Abel has a massive question that I will take 5 minutes to read. I'll get to it. So people, if you have any questions, comments for Alvin, definitely leave them. So the software tries to get as many comments as possible, but it sometimes doesn't really get all of it.
No worries. It's just you tell me what you want to talk about. I will give you
your perspective.
My perspective, yes. And
awesome.
and I do want to give a disclaimer. Everything I'm saying is my personal perspective. It is not a representation of the views of HTC or of HTC Vive. So
fair enough.
Put that in there.
These kind of disclaimers are only given by people whose voice really matters. Like, I can say whatever I want and it's not going to change. But I think, we understand that these are your personal opinions and, we really respect that. So I think timing obviously is difficult to say. And I'm a big fan of VR and AR. Can you I know that Vive is right now fully focused on VR. Right, and it wants to become, and I know Vive is stop me if I'm wrong, but Vive is a combination of HTC and Valve, right? Is that still true, or?
So actually, HTC Vive is the portion of the business of HTC that is focused on VR, right? Because we also have businesses that are focused on telephones, on telecom, on medical, and so forth.
It's a massive company.
But it is not. There's no ownership relation or equity relation with Valve
anymore. So, okay. That.
Oh no! Well, actually, ever the Vive is completely a HTC brand and an HTC owned subsidiary. So.
Oh, I didn't know that. I thought it was a combination with Valve.
Yeah. So we worked with Valve to co-develop the first HTC Vive HMD, but there was no equity relationship between.
Got it. Okay. Fair enough. So I remember emailing and bugging you back in 2016 where we wanted to build a virtual tour player where I don't know how much of this do you remember, but Teleport Me is still the largest 360 community in the world. And so we wanted to let our community members have this kind of a holodeck experience where they can see the 360s and kind of like teleport me. So teleporting them into different VR scenes. And we try to really replicate that at some point of time. Where is the non-gaming ecosystem in VR? And I'm asking this question because I want to move into virtual tours and I want to move into kind of spatial measurement and so on and so forth, which I think are very important topics for VR. Where do you think the non-gaming applications are from a, not a development perspective, because I think from a kind of usage perspective, where do you think they stand?
Yeah. So actually I think gaming back in the first year or 2 years of kind of this new wave since kind of 2015, 16. The first year or two, I think the main focus was on gaming, right? And that's where most of the users were. That's where the growth was. But if you look at the last couple of years, where the growth is coming from, what we're seeing is actually the non-gaming side. It's the enterprise usage. It's the educational usage. It's the training usage. It's the medical usage. So so there's also like government and military usage. All these things that I think that does not get the focus, does not get the exposure because they're not as fun and sexy as gaming. Right? But in fact, in China, since 2017, more than half of our revenues are coming from non-gaming, non-consumer business. Last year, I think about 75% of our customers were non-gaming, non-consumer customers. Right. Now, I think for the rest of the world, huh?
Did you say 70%?
75. Yeah, 70. 75.
Oh,
75.
Wow. Oh, wow.
Yeah.
Okay.
So I mean, but I think China is a little bit ahead of the rest of the world in that sense, because I think every technology that has ever really gotten to mass adoption had to first go through business adoption first, right? So because if you think about that, let's say the cars, people, the first cars, the first computers, the first phones were not something that a consumer just went and bought, because they were hella expensive. They were usually big and clunky. They took a lot of technology to maintain, blah blah blah. Right? There was no content. Right? Those are that's the path is that when businesses adopt it, because they find a business use that they can get ROI on, then that creates the scale, which then brings the prices down, which then brings the usage models and applications in, right? So I think that's what we're going to find is that we will go through a surge of business ownership before we have that true surge of consumer ownership. Okay, so
that's an interesting thing, because now I think it's a good segue into kind of virtual tours and kind of real estate. I think real estate and VR kind of have a very close connection. What have you seen in terms of usage of kind of virtual tours or architectural renderings, whatever it is, in the VR space?
Yeah, I think especially these days, because people don't want other people walking in their homes, right? People can't travel as much. So if you're doing, let's say if you're purchasing international properties, it's pretty much impossible right now, because the travel is just stopped, right? For international travel, for local travel, people just don't want to get on planes anymore or trains. So and people don't want to have people walking around when they're at home. So it's just, there's a lot of issues that I think are preventing that will be benefited from having that virtual tour that's out there. And I know a lot of people are doing virtual tours more through like a 360 walkthrough on your PC, but it's so much more real, and you can take that same content that's already there, but deliver it in a more immersive way. So you really feel like, what would it be like if I was standing in this living room or on this deck and looking out and at the view, right? But you can kind of.
I'm just going to ask you a lot of like technical stuff here, because a lot of people that are listening here, this is what they have come for. They've come for the virtual tour 3D space part. So,
okay.
Because the thing is, what I realized, we work in the 360 photography space, and I believe that in the photography section of, the broad section, the 360 photographers or the 3D photographers are kind of the most the tech-focused people, because they it's not just about shooting a camera, it's about, looking at FOV and a lot of other things. And so they kind of mix tech and photography to create a service. And everybody that I know of in virtual tours and 360 is a massive believer in VR. It's just the amount of there are very few people that I've met who are in this space that don't believe in the idea or the promise of VR, right?
Mhm.
But what has happened is that obviously, the adoption has not been like everybody kind of jumped. I mean, back in 2016, 2017, there were like 100 startups doing real estate virtual tours in VR, and now nobody exists. I mean, very few of them exist. So while the promise exists, I think at that point the experience was not there. There was a lot of nausea. There was a lot of whether to go native, whether to create an app. Creating an app was expensive. So there was a lot of like those blockades. So if somebody today, say I'm a service provider and I want to provide virtual tours through HTC, through the HTC ecosystem, what are the steps I need to take? And let's say I have 100 clients and I can probably sell a VR upgrade to maybe 20 of them. So how do I go about kind of going from, okay, I have the virtual tour of these hotels, high end, and I can sell them on a VR upgrade? How do I go about it in the HTC ecosystem?
I mean, I'm not sure if I understand the question fully. So you're asking, how does a service provider get involved in using VR to sell properties? Or as a content developer, how do I distribute my content to customers that might want it? Or if I'm a tools maker,
right? So service provider, but the service provider has created the content for the customer. So I'm a virtual tour photographer, and I have a client that is, say, a 5-star hotel, a Marriott or a Sheraton,
sure,
whatever it is, and they have hired me to create a virtual tour for them, and I've created it, and it's beautiful, and it works on the web, it works on mobile, and I want to sell them on the idea of VR because they can use that for selling to corporates, right? So how do I go about that process?
I mean, I think that for the content creator or service provider, what makes sense is you create content that can be played back on a standalone, and then that standalone can be put into the sales office, preloaded with the materials and all the property information and videos or whatever, which then their sales agent can use to have that one-to-one contact. So it's really a way of supplementing the face-to-face conversation. What I have seen is some people will actually preload it and send it to a customer, and that way they don't have to travel to the office. So that's for companies that want. In fact, I mean, if you look at just a month ago, we worked with Balenciaga. I know they're not a real estate company; they're a fashion brand, but they did their fall fashion show as a VR XR experience. They hired somebody to build the whole thing, pre-recorded the whole show, made 3D models of each of the pieces of clothing, allow people to walk around the clothing, allow people to walk around this kind of futuristic virtual venue, right? And they sent it, hundreds of them, preloaded into our devices, and they put it into a gift box, and they had personalized letter from the CEO to all of the influencers, right? And so it made a huge wave, huge buzz in the industry, in the fashion industry, Vogue and Cosmos and whoever, all of the Bazaar, they all had articles that talked about this innovative way of doing a fashion show, right? When you couldn't get all of these fashion writers to come to the show, they brought the show to them, right? And they did it in a very personal way where they customized every one of these boxes and made it like very fashionable.
Right.
So,
so was this an app? So
it was an app that we preloaded, put it into kiosk mode, so you couldn't do anything else with it. Except,
you couldn't do anything else with the device, the HTC device itself? Or
so you just turn it on and it goes right into kiosk mode. So you are forced to watch their fashion show. Now they actually let all these guys keep the devices, so all they had to do was flash the device, and they could make it their own again. But at least when they first got it, it was completely hands off. It would work. They just plug it in, or if it was charged, they just push the button and it's on, and it loads right into this experience. And then it says, welcome to this fashion show. Here's how you use, kind of a quick briefing, and then runs them through a 360 video of the entire show. And then lets them walk through this virtual 3D space and then it introduces them to each one of the pieces of the 50 different pieces of clothing on these virtual avatars they shot. So it really gave them all the things that they would have done when they went to the show, right? Being able to experience that group experience, being able to get that close contact with every piece of clothing, just like you would do with a property. So you can actually walk around the property and see that. But it also allows you to, maybe there's the previous owner may give you a video tour or whatever, right? So it gives you that combination of a kind of a guided experience as well as a self-led experience. So I think that could be something that is a good use case that could be used in your industry.
Right. And one more question I had was in terms of 3D tours. Like a LiDAR is coming out, and they can create 3D models. I think the thing that I'm struggling with still is to understand whether it is. I mean, I know the answer. I mean, I'm asking the question for the community, and so that you can give the right answer. But as a technical guy, I know the answer. But I'm talking about, let's say I'm capturing, using the LiDAR sensor on my iPad. I do the whole thing. I have the 360 tour, and it already works on the browser. But is the HTC device still, do they still support WebXR? We have built products on WebXR before. Do you recommend a browser experience, or do you recommend an app experience?
I think a browser experience is an easy way to get into it, but you're always going to have a better performance and better usability with an app experience, more flexibility. Right? And we actually also do have SDKs that will bring in these scanned images and allow you to do that full walkthrough. So actually, I just remembered a case study of the kind of hospitality real estate market. I think Accenture had worked with Marriott Hotels to do kind of ballroom rental, and they essentially created a 3D model of that multiple ballrooms for Marriott, and allowed their potential customers to go in there, and then they would say, okay, we can't go to that space right now, but here's how it would look. Here's where you would put your different banners. Here's how we would structure your tables, blah blah blah. And they said their purchase rate, booking rate, went up about like 15 or 16% or something in that range. So it's not, wow. It's not
is that
skyrocket increase
by chance, or?
Yeah, I think they actually wrote a case study on it. So look for I think Accenture and Marriott, I think, or it might be Accenture and Hilton or something. But I think it was an Accenture real estate case study. So they wrote one up. I think, look it up. I can try to find it for you after.
Yeah, I would love to send it to our community. It's a massive community, and they would love to, because I think
so
a lot of people want to do this. Yeah.
Yeah, so I think they actually described it pretty fully what they did, but that's not a kind of the residential real estate, but it's more of a commercial rental real estate type market. But I think it's a very similar use case.
Yeah, right. So in terms of the future of VR, we've talked about the past, we've talked about the present. Where do you see any intersection with AR? Do you see, headsets being see-through? I don't know, is see-through the right word? But, when you can...
Yeah, so there's essentially two ways to integrate the real world with the virtual world, right? You have the see-through model, or you have the pass-through model.
Pass-through, yeah.
So right now, pass-through will give you more field of view in terms of the virtual portions of it. So you can be more immersed. But the quality of the pass-through video is still lacking, right? But the see-through ones give you a good view of the real world, but the virtual component is relatively lacking. Yeah, so because you're looking at probably the good devices are looking at about 50 degrees field of view for the virtual portion, and you can only use it really indoors, because once you go outdoor, the light's too bright and you won't be able to see the virtual overlays. Right? So I think the two technologies still has both still have some limitations with current day technology. But last year, I think in the first half of last year, we talked about a concept product called Cosmos MR, where we put super high definition cameras on the Cosmos platform, and to bring in very high resolution of the real world, and then you can put that virtual world on top of it, right? So you kind of have the best of both worlds.
It's a digital real world. It's not the real world. It's the digital real world.
Yes, so it's kind of the HoloLens model, which is really about you see through, but it's see through also with a dark glass. So you're kind of making the see through part a little bit opaque as well, right? Or at least darker. Where in this case you essentially have kind of the full FOV for both. So I think that's probably. Because of the limitations currently of various waveguide technologies and kind of AR display technologies, that's probably going to give you the best experience near term. Now, longer term, I know that some of our invested companies even have 100-degree plus AR type technologies. So at that point, I think we may be able to just do full see-through and have kind of naked eye type of real world experience. But I almost feel like having a high quality pass-through will give you more flexibility in the device, right? Because really the use case of adding something virtual to the place where you're at is somewhat limited, right? Let's say you're looking at a model of something you're building, or if you want to play a tabletop game, something like that. But if you want to travel to, Mars, if you want to go underwater, if you want to go back in time, you don't really want to see the real world, right? So having pass-through gives you that flexibility where you can just block out the real world, but then you can bring it in when you want to. Whereas a see-through model, kind of the Google Glass type of model, where you see everything and you have a little bit of virtual in there. I think that's useful for certain, let's say, industrial applications where you're trying to fix something and you want to get some guidance while you're trying to fix it. Those kind of usage model. If you're a soldier and you want information about the battle situation, while you're seeing the real world because you don't want to get shot, right? Yeah. So I think those use cases make sense to do see-through, but I think there's going to be a lot more situations where you rather have fully virtual everything, and then have the option to turn on the real world or the virtual world.
Got it. So, I know that most of the applications that are built on the wireless, right?
I'm sorry, say again?
You use Unity to build the applications, right?
No, I mean, our devices, it doesn't matter if you use Unity or if you use Unreal or if you use some proprietary engine, as long as it can render, it's fine. We don't limit people in terms of what tool set they use, right? And I think most of the good tools out there will support pretty much most of the major devices out there. So I don't think there's really any real concern over platform compatibility because of tool set.
Awesome. Okay, so I'm before we jump into the questions, and people, if you have questions, feel free to leave them so that Alvin and me can get through it. One of the things that I wanted to talk about is with Vive and VR and AR, there's this whole matrix thing, which is people are afraid of. Like the examples you gave, which was, hey, you can go here and you can go there and you can completely immerse yourself. This means that there is this possibility of a matrix type situation, right? And I'm not going to name companies here, but people are afraid of a certain company that could, create that kind of environment, right? Has HTC thought of that, or is HTC thinking of the larger implications, or is it still, because HTC is a device manufacturer, right? always has been, even with the phones, they stuck to Android. Do you think about these implications? Do you think about?
Yeah, of course. So I mean, I think the thing to realize with any technology is that it's proportional. The amount of potential good and the amount of potential harm of a technology is proportional. So if you feel like, oh, this thing can really be great because it can educate you so much more efficiently, great, that's positive. But of course, like you're saying, it could be so real that people are addicted to it and they won't leave the virtual world. That's the negative. So I think it's really about, we have to educate the public about how to use it. Just like people are addicted to social networking.
Right.
It's great that it can help you communicate to a big audience very easily and cheaply, but it's also can spread the wrong message. Right? So I think there's certain level of public responsibility to understand what's possible. But of course, we think about this from a corporate responsibility perspective as well, to make sure that I don't think we're at the point where people can't distinguish real from virtual yet. So we're still a little bit away from the Matrix situation. Now, I don't think anybody needs to take the blue or the red pill yet. But I think that is coming. I mean, we will get there, and it is just a matter of time. But I don't even think you need to get there to have this problem, because there are people who are addicted to games, who will spend 10 hours a day playing games, and today's games are on a 2D screen, using a keyboard and a mouse or some kind of a controller, right? That's not that immersive, but people get addicted because the game designers design it in a way to appeal to our kind of subliminal hormonal systems. And I think that will happen with XR as well, and it will probably happen in an even more extreme way. Right? Yes. I remember last year when Half-Life Alyx came out, I had to work and I had to play, and I kept trying to find breaks that I can go in and play the next level, right? And I mean, and there was points in time where I was in there and I forgot about the real world. Right, and that's with today's technology. So I think absolutely that is a potential concern. But I think, again, just like with any technology, users need to learn about how to manage themselves. If you look at what was talked about in the first Ready Player One, they actually had the device manufacturers put in safeguards where you could turn on a safeguard and say you have to exercise for so many hours a day before you can go back into the system, right? Yeah. So those kind of things. So maybe we may look into that at some point, where we put a kind of a parental guidance, parental guard. I think adults can probably do it themselves, but children may need to be managed. So just like right now, we have on browsers, we can manage our children's browsers so they don't go to the wrong sites. Yep. I think we may need some of these safeguards for these devices, for parents to be able to manage their children in terms of how much time they spend in there, or where they go when they're in there.
Okay, so no real plans. And the reason I say this is because I think that there is a great quote unquote marketing opportunity for HTC to come out and say we are the anti competition, because I think that is a massive concern. I think that's what Apple is doing right now, which is they are touting privacy as their biggest selling point. They're not very private, but that's what they sell. Sure.
But I think we're not there yet, right? I mean, if you look at if you look at 10 years ago when the or actually 12 years ago when the iPhone came out, or actually 13 now, nobody was talking about the privacy concern, because there weren't that many people using it. It wasn't that big of a deal. They wasn't collecting that much data, or people didn't know how much data they were collecting. I think just the same right now, there's really no point for us to come out and really focus the topic on that right now, because it's too early. Right? But if you look at what we do compared to some of the other competitors in terms of what we do with data, absolutely. We have a very different approach to that. We don't have a database that we're feeding into an ad network. Right? We're not forcing you to use a certain social network to be able to turn on our devices. So this is why I think businesses gravitate to our solutions, because they don't need to worry about, is my corporate sensitive data being fed through somebody's server somewhere, because we're not going to take your data, and we're not going to even store your data. We're not even going to use your data, right? Whereas that is the number one goal of potential other companies, because that's their revenue model, right? So I think this is something. Actually, I do want to spend a little bit of time on this, because I think this is the trade-off that every consumer, whether consumer or business, need to consider is, what is your data worth to you? Is it worth it for you to save a few $100s, but then you lose your privacy, or you lose potential security of the things that you're working on? So for some people, the equation is yes. I don't have anything to give up, so I'm willing to give up my information so that I can have a device for $300. Right? But if you look at what is a fair price for that product, is if you look at what does Facebook charge for their business version, it's somewhere close to $1,000. So if you think about that, then what is the value of your data to them? It's about $600 to $700.
Yeah.
Right? So that's because on the business edition, they're really not trying to steal they're trying to harvest your data. So they have less opportunity to make the revenue on the other side. But I think that's how they look at the equation, is that, in one way, I charge you $300, but you give me everything I want to know about you, and I can reach you in different ways. And then I will also lock you into my content store, and where I can then capture additional revenues from you. Right, where we're really more about an open ecosystem, right? We're about and you can use any store you want. You can siloed it. You can link it to a PC. You can do whatever. We're not going to lock you in, right? And pretty much everybody that applies to our store can get in. We're not judging you unless there's let's say pornography and so forth. We don't approve. But outside of that, we're not judging you. We're not saying, because we have a product that we're making like this, we're not going to publish your version of some application, right? So I think it's a different philosophy. It's kind of like the Android versus Apple debate of the last 10 years. There will be a similar type of a trade-off that people need to make. Whether you want that kind of flexibility and freedom, or do you want something that is kind of a little bit more vertically integrated, right? So for some people, they will choose an easier model. But what we find right now is that Apple is probably like 15% of global shipments. So, but for the majority of people, they would rather have that flexibility to use whatever hardware they want, to use whatever store they want, to use to make any changes they want at whatever level, right? And of course, at the end of the day, because of competition, the prices will come down, and you will actually get a cheaper device that is more powerful and have more flexibility at the same time. Right?
Awesome. Okay. So what I'm going to do, Alvin, is now I'm going to go and collect all the questions from all the other places as much as I can, and I'll let you scroll through some of the questions that have come on our little chat thing, and pick anything that you want to answer while I go and kind of get the other questions out. All right.
Okay.
Let me know which one you want to answer, and I'll just kind of bring it on the screen.
I only see 3 things. I don't know. Maybe I'm not using this right. But is there more items on the right? I only have like up to Justin Abel. After that, I don't see anything.
Yeah. I mean, is it? Do you want? Oh, I think it's because it's kind of freezing for me. That's why. Would you want to pick any of the ones that you can see?
I mean, I think there are more comments right now I'm seeing versus questions.
I mean, I can see one by Mauricio Lopez, which I think is pretty interesting.
I can't read that one. So if you can read it for me, let me know, because I can't scroll down.
Oh, you can't. Oh, that's right. Okay, okay. So, all right. So I'm going to bring it up on the screen.
Okay. Okay, yeah. So the question about bring virtual, real world objects into virtual world, absolutely. I mean, this is why we created the Vive tracker, right? And I think if you're looking at pens, I know Logitech last year released a tracked pen that you can use as a designer to be able to do both 2D as well as 3D drawing in a very sensitive, accurate way. Mouse and keyboard can already be brought into and added to VR environments. So I don't think that actually is a concern. I think, in fact, Logitech also made a virtual keyboard that was tracked with a tracker. But I know that there are products coming down the line. I can't say too much about who, but there are software products coming down the line that will use computer vision to be able to identify the keyboard, and then bring that in so that you can visually see the real keyboard, and then be able to be doing productivity applications while you're in VR. So those are absolutely things that are on our radar, and I know that there are companies who already are making those available very soon, if not already there.
Awesome. So I'm gonna pick a question from Nicholas Johansson, and Nicholas asks, "Is there a Quest competitor coming this year? Any cool devs Untitled signed?"
So I think we've said in the past that we will release a new AIO this year. So I don't think I would position it as a Quest competitor. I think it's our next generation standalone. We will have one this year. It is going to be a great product. I can't give any specs on it, but I think you will find that from every perspective, it is better than what we have today. And it's probably better than what's out there from any vendor today.
Okay. Peter Larson asks, will the consumer facing have some kind of eye tracking? I don't know.
So we have the Vive Pro Eye, which was released about I don't know, maybe a year and a half ago, 2 years ago, and that has built-in eye tracking. But there are already accessories from one of our ViveX companies, 7 Invention, that can plug in. So I think it's like $150. You can plug in the eye tracking socket, software or hardware, onto pretty much all of our devices. I think they even made it compatible with some of the other vendors in the market as well. So that technology, 7 Invention, 7, the number 7, and then IVENSUN. So you can go online and buy their accessory, and it works on most platforms. Actually, I think they've got it to work on most of the platforms already.
Okay, all right. So Hakeem Azrur asks, "Is there a partner program that could facilitate hardware acquisitions for orders of about 10,000 units?"
Sure. Yeah. I mean, I think we have direct enterprise account managers in various regions. So if you have an order for 10,000, shoot me a note. I'll put you in touch. I'll put you in touch with the right regional folks.
So the answer is yes. I will send you an email.
Or just find me on Twitter or something, or LinkedIn, whatever.
Okay.
So.
All right, then we have Pancake_gamer, who asks, "What are the biggest problems for VR hardware today?"
The biggest,
let's say the top 2, because there are a ton, but let's say top 2 hardware problems.
I think for a standalone, it's it's always a trade-off of kind of capability, price, and ergonomics, right? So it's right now trying to get them all to be high is very difficult. So I actually am pretty happy with the new devices that are coming out. I think it hits at a lot of the right points that we're looking at. I think the prices could be better, but that's a matter of time. I think in any technology sector, early versions of products will always be a little higher, and then as the volume goes up, the prices come down naturally. Right? So I'm actually, just like I said before, I think people overemphasize on the price. For me, I actually think that the biggest challenge I see is getting all the things that we want to get into a small package, but still deliver the experience that we want. Right? So I think that's something that I would like the team to spend more time on, because I think that will really take this class of devices to that all-day wear that I think it will head to in the near future.
All right. Okay, so we have another question by Justin, who says, let me get this thing here. Location-based VR hardware. We are in desperate need for wireless, free roam HMDs that are not locked into a Facebook account, which is what I said. Everybody wants a device that's not locked into a Facebook account.
So like I said, it is coming. So keep. Yeah, I mean that's what I mentioned. We will deliver a product this year. I can't give you any details on it, but it is definitely not locked to a Facebook account. So,
okay. So one thing before we go to Mike's question, which I think is a really good question, why do you think that China is ahead than the rest of the world when it comes to VR?
I think that China is a ultra competitive market, right? Because it's like almost like an anything goes market. So everybody competes with every advantage they can get. When Groupon came out, there was 4,000 Groupon clones, right? When the delivery, when a bicycle sharing came out, there was like 100 bicycle sharing companies. And 10 of them got $100 million in funding. Yeah? So, when the food delivery came out, there was like 50 food delivery companies, and they were all, very well funded. So everybody's always trying to get that edge. When I have to compete with one guy, I kind of just move at my pace and I'll be fine. But when I have to compete with 3,999 other people doing the same thing, I'm going to be working 24 hours a day to figure out how can I survive, because if I don't do something better than these other 3,000 companies, I'm dead, right? That makes people more focused in terms of finding that advantage. And I think this is why the businesses are really gravitating to working more with this technology, because they feel like, hey, it's providing me an advantage that my competitors don't have. So I think that's something, and I think in general, the population there are pretty tech savvy, right? Because everybody's on mobile all the time. Nobody uses cash anymore, or even credit cards, right? And you go everywhere by essentially the DD, which is like the Uber there, and so they're living kind of the future world of the West by about 3 or 5 years. I mean, it's been a cash-free society for the last 4 or 5 years. And e-commerce was 30 to 40% of total commerce, for the last several years, and the U.S. was at 10 or 15% until last year, when it jumped from like 10 or 15 to like 30% in 1 year because of COVID, right? Wow. But so I think that's the thing is, I can get 24 hours within 30-minute delivery from any restaurant I want in China for free.
For free?
For free. right?
Wow.
So this is what I'm talking about.
China now.
So when I
Free delivery.
I get about half of my dinners I just order on the way home from work, and the food's there before I get there.
Wow.
Right? So, and I didn't have to pay for it, right? And so I think that, that life that people have been living, they've been doing that for a while. So it seems like it's just they adopt new technology faster, right? And they feel like that's how I'm going to get an edge in the market. So we'll see the same thing. Just like people were still using text message here when they were WeChat was the hot thing, and these super apps where I could do my payments, I can order a taxi, I can buy financial instruments, I can rent a hotel, all from the same app. This is like 5-6 years ago.
Yeah.
When WhatsApp was just doing, I can do text.
All right. Okay. 1 second. Sorry, I'm just trying to make sure I get to everything. So I think maybe this could be the last question before we wrap it up. Michael asks. So Michael, by the way, is one of the kind of the biggest voices in this space in 360 photography. So he has a good question. I'll read it out for everybody. It says, I think one of the barriers of making VR more popular is the lack of understanding among non-VR users. Would mixed reality videos make it easier for people to understand the benefits? And if so, could you guys make it easier for users to make mixed reality videos?
Yeah, I think mixed reality videos definitely. Well, and I want to clarify because there's two definitions of when people say mixed reality. Some people mean, oh, I can see a real person, being filmed and then composite that with the virtual scene. Right. There's also the other definition of mixed reality of being able to see through the real world with the virtual overlays. So those are two different things. One is making videos to be distributed. One is really the usage, the app from the user's perspective. I think what Michael's asking about is really more making the videos, which I think is useful because as he says, it's hard for people to understand without trying the device. So this gives them an intermediate perspective, but honestly, it's not a replacement, right? And I think people can look at videos and like, oh, that looks really cool, but that kind of looks like a special effect. So I don't really get the sense of what it's like to be in it. So at the end of the day, I think what will convince people is when they actually put one on their head, and there is an application in there that they're interested in. Right? I've demoed VR to hundreds, if not thousands, of people for their first time experience. And I have never had somebody come out and say, that was just okay. Right?
That's true. Same here, yeah.
Yeah. So if you can get people to put on a headset, it will change minds. Right? So this is why I actually don't think there's anything wrong with what Oculus is doing with essentially subsidizing devices, making them affordable, because I think that it's a way of getting the message out, right? And it's doing some level of heavy lifting of educating the public on the possibility of this technology, right? And for their business model, it makes sense. For them as a company, as a part of a social network, what they do makes perfect sense, right? But it is there's always people who will say, hey, but I don't want to give up that my information, my privacy for the right to use that product, right? So there will always be alternatives of other solutions, and we feel like we're going to be an important player in supplying that alternative.
Okay, that makes sense. Yeah, I think it is. The good part is there are only two big players right now, you and the other one, and so it's going to be a battle. I think. Hopefully.
Well, honestly, I don't think it needs to be a battle. I actually think both companies.
That's not how the tech ecosystem works. There are no two big players in any massive market. Maybe in phones, you can argue that, you got Apple and you got the Android ecosystem. But in terms of, a major share of like revenue generated and kind of cool stuff that all go kind of towards Apple. So I definitely think that there is that from a consumer's perspective. I'm sure
Sure.
from a
But yeah, I understand what you're saying, but I think that the customers will gravitate towards one or the other solution, right?
yes.
And it's self-selected. So I don't think it's a matter of, we're going to steal away the Facebook user who is a diehard Facebook user who don't care about their data and who just wants the cheapest product. They're going to buy their product. And I don't think they're going to be able to go to a Fortune 500 company or a government and say, hey, we're going to sell you this product, and by the way, we need you to sign on to our Facebook account. Right? So we're really targeting different kind of users, different kind of requirements. So again, I actually don't think we are as a direct competitor as a lot of people think. I think we're serving the needs of different segments of customers who prioritize different capabilities. And I think for them, they're really still a more consumer-oriented company because their mother company is a consumer-oriented company, right? We allow consumers to use it, but we also are creating products that allow businesses, governments, hospitals, schools to also use it and to use it with a clear conscience and a sense of safety. Right? And in fact, we also allow a lot more flexibility in their ability to adapt the product to their needs. Whereas a lot of the things are locked, you can't even access the camera on the Oculus products, right? Whereas we allow essentially full access to almost every part of our device and API. Right? So actually, in fact, we're also enabling, like in China, there are probably about a dozen or so standalone vendors. And 80% of them use our SDK, use our store, and we even supplied one of our biggest competitors or kind of partners with our controller to give to them the controller so they don't have to develop it, so that they can sell more product. So we don't see, and we do it in a way not because we think, we're going to make a lot of money on this controller. No, we actually give it to them just a little bit above cost. But we want to enable this industry to grow, right? We want to be able to allow users choice of what they want to buy. We're never going to be the low cost leader, right? That is not how we position ourselves. Because we do all of the original development, we do the original research. We have to create the ecosystem. We have to bring in all those content vendors and then support them in creating the best in class content. It's not cheap, and we don't have a cash cow business where we're raking in ad revenues, right? All of this has to come from product sales and software sales. So we charge a fair price for a quality product. So it's a different business model, and I think people will choose the model that fits them best. But I don't really see us taking customers from each other at all.
Okay. That's fair. I think Just Enable has a lot of questions. I think it has to mostly with.
He does have a lot of questions.
And I think it's because he owns a VR arcade, and he feels like maybe HTC is probably not supporting VR arcades, and I think he wants to know more about it.
Well, I think we actually do support VR arcades. If you look at arcades, a lot of them really use our devices because they're so freaking durable. I mean, they can get dropped from 6 feet, 10 feet, and they don't break, right? And the wires are thick. They last. They're like the tanks, So from a LBE perspective, we actually feel like that's one of our key markets. I know in China, about 10% of our units go to LBEs. So it's a significant portion of our business, right? And we have a lot of accessories partners, the VR mask and the various strap connectors the Rebuffs of the world, they're all working with us. The haptic vests, we invested in B Haptics, who makes the haptics vest for a lot of these LBEs, right? So we actually do support them, and but I think that the issue right now is that LBEs in the near term are having a tough time because of COVID, right? Because people can't go outside and they don't want to gather and they don't want to put their head into somebody else's headset that was just in there 5 minutes ago, right? So it's going to take a little bit of time for people to get over that fear, right? But with the vaccine coming and being distributed, I think that's going to help. I think when people being cooped up for a year, they want to get out. Right. So, China's, if you look at China, I think, again, even in this case, China it's kind of like the canary in the mine shaft that tells you early what's going to happen, because it had COVID, and within 2 months, it kind of controlled everything, and we went back to normal. I was back into the office in April last year, and our team has been in the office every day since April of last year. Right, our U.S. staff, our European team has not seen each other in over a year. Right, so that's the difference. And so, just like China got back to the normal, their box office, they just had a new movie released last weekend, and I think it was kind of back to 2018-19 levels in terms of opening day sales.
Oh wow!
People want to gather. Right? People wanted to go back to the real world, or the past that they had. They just haven't been given a chance because of government kind of regulation that said, okay, it can only be 50% capacity or 60% capacity or 10% capacity, right? So now that things are being more open, I think the world will go back, and the world will accept LBEs. And I think LBEs will play a very important role. I remember we did a survey. We do a survey every 6 months, and 60% of the surveyed users had their first experience with VR in an LBE in China. So, and then I think it was like 30% was at a friend's house. Right? So
well, Justin says he does love your devices, so I guess you are right about that. I think maybe what he's trying to say is, I think that I read some of his comments above, is I think he's waiting for the new device, which is coming soon, and I think that's kind of what he was saying, is like, please release that soon.
Yeah, yes, of course. Look, we will always try to release our products as soon as possible, because we know our customers want things, but I think we also want to make sure that whatever we release, that we've tested it properly, that it works, that we've thought of all the issues, and we've got sufficient content on it, and it's been ported well, and and it doesn't create issues for existing customers, and there's a good migration path, and all of that takes time. But when we do release it, I expect that this new set of products that are coming this year will receive the same level of welcome that we had in our first generation back in 2016. So I think I look forward to hearing the feedback from Justin and other folks in the industry, because I think we've created a product or products that will meet your needs.
Awesome. All right. I think we are going to wrap this up now, Alvin. Thank you for your time, and thank you for everybody that participated. I think the timing is a little bit off, because that's why I think you didn't get as many questions as generally we get, because most of the Europe is sleeping and Asia is sleeping. I mean, just waking up, and East Coast is sleeping. So I'm in Macedonia right now, and it's 3 a.m.
Oh wow! Jeez,
yeah.
You're sorry to keep you up, man.
No, it's all good. I'm excited. I was really excited when you said yes, and like I said, I'm a big fan of VR, and I do hope that HTC grows really big, and you are kind of on the top of it, and hopefully give very strong competition to the existing competitors, and build a very, very beautiful ecosystem that we need. So I'm very excited for what you and your company does in the next 5-6 years.
Well, yeah, thanks for organizing, and you know, I'm always happy to talk to our community and really hear what people have to say. So I'm actually really glad that you are allowing people to ask questions directly, because then I can hear directly from them of what they're concerned about, and we will take those concerns and bring it back to our development team for kind of future revisions. So, but thanks again, and thanks for staying up, and you know, hopefully we'll do this again in a year or two, and tell me
Well,
how
we can
you.
do one when you release the new product in this way. That would be awesome.
Yeah, we can work out something out. So let me know. Yeah. Talk to your people, talk to my people. We'll work something out.
All right, take care, dude. I'm gonna put you out there, but just stay there for like 2 minutes, and I'll kind of just.
Okay. All right. No worries. All
right.
And thanks everybody for joining, and thanks for all your questions. By the way, I really appreciate you you know, giving me that direct feedback.
Awesome. All right. All right. Well, I hope you all enjoyed the conversation. Alvin was very gracious with his time. Most of the questions that you know, you guys asked. So yeah, I think this is the 5th one, and we are kind of done. I'm gonna not be having a live session next week, mostly because I'm trying to combine all the learnings that I've had for the first 5 weeks to create a more seamless, non-buggy process, because right now it's a little buggy, and you know, I have to work around a lot of things. So that's something that I want to do, and I want to spend some time to get it done. And then I'm going to be back either the week after that with some new guests that I've already lined up. So thank you again. And if you have any questions, you know, feel free to send me a message. And yeah, and if you're interested in virtual tours, check out teleportme.com. Yeah, that's it. Have a good night, everybody. Bye-bye.